We'll see. Fair enough. I do prefer to have some case cards get tag or yeah. Problem is DNA components are C2 ones. You know, you can what's already out.
This is the meeting of the CTA for Wednesday, October 30th, 2019. The first item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Anybody have any objections to the agenda presented? If not, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second? Any objections? Approved. Next are the minutes of prior meeting, which was September 11th, 2019. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. Second?
Second.
By Jackie. Any objections? If not, approved. And we'll move on to recognitions. Barb?
So we have 3 today, totaling 75 years of collective service to CDTA. First up, with 20 years of service, Mr. Dexter Hasbury. Don't be shy, guys. Dexter could run for mayor and win. I think you know this. You hear these stories month after month. A lot of our employees are generational, or they were referred to us by another employee or a relative. In Dexter's case, his uncle, John Killings, who I remember very well. John Killings manned our radio room, our control center, for many, many, many years. And John was a long-time employee, and his Aunt Joan, also, Joyce. I read that, good. Also recommended CDTA. Before he came to CDTA, he worked at St. Peter's, first in housekeeping, and then a year later as a clerk in ER, emergency room. Dex is originally from Brooklyn and is a programmer by trade. Interesting story, while working at St. Peter's, one of his patients was Dennis Fitzgerald. Dennis Fitzgerald was a long-time CEO here at CDTA, made the mistake of hiring me, among other people. But Dex was a patient, they got to know each other, and Dennis recommended CDTA might be a good spot for you. And Dex joined CDTA, as many other people did, in 1999 as a part-time star operator. But he had a rough start when he went over to fixed route service. On his first day, he says it was a snowstorm. I'm not sure about that. It was Christmas time. It was winter time. One of our supervisors, some of you remember this name, Terry Muldoon, had to go out and rescue Dex because he was lost. So Terry put Dex back on track, got him where he needed to go. But after that, Dex went out and bought a map of the capital region and studied it to make sure he knew where he was going. Hats off, Dex. But being on the road is fun for him. He gets great satisfaction at being a resource to our customers. He's got a great personality. He's always smiling. He gets along with people. You can't get along with Dexter. You can't get along with anybody. Over the years, he has been guided by senior employees, people who have since retired, and basically showed them the way, gave them the tips and tools of the trade. And Dex is trying now to pass that along to others. If any of you were at the Safety Awards dinner this past year or prior years, you might know that Dex is usually decked out, flashy suit, sometimes a tuxedo, and always in a pair of colorful shoes. I don't know how many pairs of shoes. Hundreds of pairs of shoes. Okay, I guess my 4 doesn't get it done. When he isn't polishing his shoes, Dex is road tripping back home to the Big Apple, New York City, maybe on a car show, or traveling to places like Los Angeles. He says retirement's not on the immediate agenda, but he's looking at it. I hope it's not in my working lifetime, because he's one of a kind. Dexter, congratulations. Picture, you gotta smile. All right, next up, Andre Stasio, 25 years of service. So life before CDTA for Andre began at the gym and home construction. You like the gym? Yeah, you work out a lot? Well, it shows. He too started out in Star, but after Star, his role was a little different. He stayed in System 2 and went and drove buses in Saratoga for several years. Like a lot of our bus operators, he's got a passion for driving, a passion for operating big vehicles, and working with people. With technology changing all the time, so does the job on the road. Right? Andre says there's so many more things now that you have to be aware of that didn't exist 15 or 20 years ago. So it's eyes peeled wide open, and using the technology that we have to be helpful. Some of his favorite memories are with colleagues down in the break room, playing cards, playing games, participating in our softball teams, our basketball teams, and of course he looks forward to the safety awards dinner, probably to see what color shoes Dexter's wearing. CDTA has made Andre very happy. He loves his job and says, why would I want to leave something that has treated me so well and at a place that I love? In his spare time, he can be found cooking in the kitchen, breaking a sweat at the gym, or tinkering around the house. Retirement, he says, is a few years away. When it does come, he has no intention of slowing down. He'd like to go back to school, become a home inspector, or maybe move to Florida and invest in a nice new car while he's down there. Thank you, Andre, for a great 25 years of service, and I hope it's a few more.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, last but certainly not least, Mr. James Everett, 30 years of service. So before coming to CDTA, James tried a lot of different things, right?
Yeah, man.
Construction, GE, Amtrak. I cut a few of them out. Construction, GE, Amtrak. He submitted 2 applications to CDTA over the span of a couple of years, and he mentioned it, another one of these interesting connections. His deacon at church was Sweet Lou Williams, who many of you will remember as a longtime safety manager. And Lou was very active in the church, Lou and his wife, Linnell. And Lou checked on his application, and one thing led to another. James got a call, interview, and shortly thereafter, probably Mike Collins arranged for him to come to work at CDTA. Again, same story, started in Star, then moved over to fixed route, started part-time, was full-time, and transitioned pretty much to fixed route operations around 1993, 1994, where he drove, as he says, all the routes. It was lower on the seniority list, so he didn't get to pick, and that's what's happening. As you move your way up the seniority list, you pick where you want to work and what time of day you want to work. With seniority, he now likes to go for what he calls calm routes. Route 13, Scholar Avenue, Route 18, Delaware Avenue. It's interesting that the guys and gals call those calm routes. If you were paying attention to Ross Farrell's route performance report, they may be calm, but they carry the most people. So it's interesting what these guys and gals perceive as calm. Times have changed at CDTA, and James has noticed that the times are different, not necessarily tougher, just different. We strive to keep up with best practices, as he says, always maintaining a safe and efficient workplace. It's interesting to see our own employees sort of spit back the buzzwords that we think we have come up with. Actually, these guys and gals come up with those words and they live it. Some of James' favorite memories are here the safety awards, some of the Christmas parties that used to happen up at the starting gate. You may remember Herman's Bar and Grill at that point. In his spare time, he's usually grilling, enjoying a movie, fishing, but usually outdoors somewhere, having fun. Bad news is retirement is around the corner. Target date is, tell me it ain't true, February 1, 2020, which is only a few months away. He's hoping to travel south to Mississippi, where your mom and dad are from, right? They're from Mississippi, maybe permanent. So thanks for 30, for sure? Permanent. All right, so I guess we're not changing James' mind. Congratulations, February.
I got one.
We'll get a good one if it's not good.
No, it is.
All right, before we conclude the, hey, we have one more. We have one more, Jamie. This is a little off the beaten track a bit. I think you know that every year we hold a fall festival. We hold it here at CETA. We have a scarecrow contest among the employee groups, and there's like 8 or 10 or 12 scarecrows. When you walked in, you may have noticed an electronic machine making funny noises. It's called Zoltar. It's from a movie, big, with Tom Hanks. We're not going to get into that. But that was constructed by our maintenance department. Freddie Newman led the way. They put it together. They were crowned Scarecrow Kings, Scarecrow Winners of the Year. So on your way out, if you haven't seen it, take a peek. Great job by Freddie Newman and the whole maintenance crowd. So, I didn't know there was a trophy.
Get a picture of your trophy. Oh, it's working again. We're good.
Great job. We'd like to have a little fun too. Thank you, guys. So I think the awards and the maintenance pumpkin speak for themselves. Thanks. They're just great people.
All right, moving on from Zoltar.
I do this like total.
We'll start with the committee reports. I will provide the board operations committee that convened on October 17th here at 110 Waterville Avenue. The committee reviewed the agendas from the various committees that are action items on this month's agenda. Lisa Morello attended the meeting and provided us with an update on advocacy activities. She's working alongside the State Association to advocate for 5-year operating and capital funding for non-MTA systems. And at the same time, she and her team are talking about the unique needs of CETA, the services we operate, and our facility needs for the next few years. We talked about our strategic planning process, which is now well underway. Lots of information and data collection is going on, which includes detailed interviews with board members. The board and staff retreat is scheduled for November 15th. So there's lots more work to follow on this. We continue our discussion about STAR performance data, and we reviewed a set of key indicators that we plan to incorporate into monthly dashboard reports. This is an ongoing work in progress. We also talked briefly about the budget for next fiscal years, the ways to streamline information decision-making as it relates to our financial plan. With new services and programs coming online, the budget will be challenging and filled with opportunities, more details to follow. And our next meeting of the Board Operations Committee is scheduled for Wednesday, December 4th at 9:15 a.m. here at CETA. That concludes my report. We'll now move on to the Performance Monitoring Audit Committee. Denise.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The committee met on October 23rd here at 110 Waterville Avenue. And we have several consent agenda items that we request approval for. And the first one is approval of the shelter snow removal contract. Currently, our contract for snow removal has expired. Several firms downloaded the invitation for bid, and 2 bids were submitted. City Mark Striping, our incumbent, was the lowest bidder. They are a New York State women's-owned business enterprise, and the estimated cost over a 5-year period is $100,000, which is a 9% increase from the expiring agreement. So we need a motion to award a 3-year contract with 2 renewal options to City Mark Striping of Albany at an estimated cost not to exceed $100,000 over 5 years.
Can I get a motion for Resolution 34?
So moved.
Second? Second, Jack. Any discussion about this item? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? It's approved.
The next one is approval of bus inspection services contract. Our contract for bus inspection services is expiring, and the committee discussed the need for this service. The work includes in-plant bus inspections manufactured for CDTA and our annual inspections of existing bus fleet. 2 proposals were received. The lowest cost proposal was from Transit Resource Center, the longtime incumbent, and TRC will provide services for $64,007 per year, and the staff recommends approval of the contract to TRC. So at this point, we request a motion for a 3-year contract with 2 optional renewals to Transit Resource Center of Winter Springs, Florida, with a 5-year cost of $320,034.
Can I get a motion to approve the contract with TRC?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussions? Questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? It's approved.
Our next one is approval of an electric bus pilot monitoring services contract. Obviously, we're going to be putting those buses into service, and we are looking to monitor the service of those buses and performance. So we want to frame our electric vehicle pilot with appropriate data and information. This will help us to determine the success of the pilot. We issued an RFP for firms that can identify performance indicators to measure and monitor the performance of our electric buses and vehicle chargers. 8 proposals were received. Staff recommends a 1-year contract with 4 one-year renewals for monitoring services to the Center for Transportation and the Environment. We need a motion to award a 1-year contract at $97,000 and 4 one-year options at $64,000 per year to the Center of Transportation and the Environment of Atlanta, Georgia.
Can I get a motion for Resolution 36?
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Second. Any questions or comments?
Just a little background. Chris provided background at the committee meeting, but in a nutshell, what this will do is help us to frame in the pilot. What is it we're looking to accomplish? And to understand all the different, basically to answer the questions we all have and we have been asked. What is the charging economy? How long does it take to charge? How do different drivers, driver behavior, impact range? All the questions that I think we need to understand a little bit better in order to move from 4 buses to 24 buses or 204 buses. So rather than just do this ourselves, this is not something that we do normally. We brought in experts to help us with that.
All those in favor of the contract with Center for Transportation?
I have a question.
Yes, Mark.
Yeah, it says it's from the capital budget. It sort of looks more like operating, but that's kosher, then I don't object.
Yeah, a lot of service contracts end up coming from the operating side. We would rather not use operating money to pay. So, as a matter of fact, I'm not sure we do that as a practice.
Well, plus, this is a one-off thing that's tied to the pilot. This is not anticipated to be an ongoing
Yeah, as Chris said, those 4
expense
years,
indefinitely.
those 4 years are not likely to be engaged.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? It's approved.
Our next one is for approval of a snow removal contract at the Rensselaer Rail Station. We received 4 bids for snow removal at the Rensselaer Rail Station. The low bidder is GPM Realty, a minority-owned business enterprise. The estimated cost over 5 years is $416,250. Staff recommends GPM Realty for this work. We need a motion to award a 3-year contract with 2 optional renewal years to GPM Realty of Clifton Park for an estimated contract value of $416,250.
Can I get a motion to approve the snow removal contract?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thanks, Mike. Any questions, comments? That's fine.
I have a question, it's not strictly related to the budget item, but it's about the rail station. I understand we own the rail station, but the buses don't go in. That could be a problem if people are carrying luggage in bad weather. I'm wondering why that is.
Well, there's a whole issue with the top deck mark that would probably require about a half-hour discussion, but there is an issue with the top deck and the load that it can accommodate. That's a membrane, not the old-fashioned construction. We can talk about that. Chris and Ross can answer that question.
Anything else? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Resolution's approved.
Okay, the next 2 items are related to insurance. The first one is approval of a general and auto liability insurance. Auto and general liability insurance provides protection against claims for injury and damage to people and property that may be caused by the operation of our business. Our self-insured retention is $2 million, with excess insurance coverage for $8 million and $5 million, for a total coverage amount of $13 million. We need a motion to buy an $8 million excess policy from American Alternative Insurance Company in Princeton, New Jersey, a $5 million excess policy from Scottsdale Indemnity of Columbus, Ohio, and a non-certified acts of terrorism from Lloyd's of London. The total 1-year premium cost is $419,238, effective November 10th of this year.
I'll take a motion on resolution 38 on the insurance policy.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Any discussion about this insurance issue?
Just,
What's a non-certified active terrorism?
we did have this.
Good catch, Mark.
discussion.
Well, maybe Mike can give you a quick summary of the insurance we're buying and what non-certified active terrorism is.
And this is excess over our $2 million.
We cover the first 2 million, and then our insurance. So first, I'll kick it off, then Michael. First 2 million is on CDTA. We manage all of that, the first $2 million is CDTA. Then, insurance needs.
Then we're purchasing $13 million of excess coverage, and it's separated and bought in 2 different layers. And as far as the non-certified acts of terrorism, you actually have certified acts of terrorism that the federal government has to determine, but in most cases that doesn't happen. So because of the way some of these terrorist activities have happened over the past several years, we have to buy a separate policy called non-certified acts of terrorism that the federal government doesn't classify as certified. So that's the insurance we're buying. And if we don't buy that, it's usually excluded from general liability policies.
So we need it.
So
You need it?
Yeah, we needed, we had a long discussion about stuff related to terrorism, I guess. But I think really what it does is in order to buy that 13 million, you almost have to buy that as part of it.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? It's approved.
Okay, and our last item is approval of auto physical damage insurance. Auto physical damage insurance insures our vehicles in the event of fire, theft, vandalism, collision, and natural perils. This insurance is priced based on the value of our fleet. Lexington Insurance has been our carrier for several years and has increased the premium by 4%. We need a motion for a one-year contract to Lexington Insurance in Boston for auto physical damage insurance and Aspen Specialty Insurance of New York City for non-certified acts of terrorism for a total premium cost of $247,491, and that would also be effective November 10th of this year. So I'll make that motion.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions or comments about this policy? Policies. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's approved.
Okay, no more items to vote on. Okay. The audit committee did not have any items scheduled for report, and neither did the investment committee this time. So we had administrative discussion items, the first one being monthly management report. Mike Collins gave the monthly management report. We're on solid financial footing through the first 6 months of the year. MRT reached $1.5 million for the first time in 13 years. Customer fares are up 3.8% for the year, and facility advertising is up 39%. Wages are under budget by 2.5% for the month, and healthcare is under budget by 10%. And workers' comp is under budget by 40%. Total revenue is up 3.7% for the year, and expenses are down 4.1%. So it was a really positive report. No complaints. We'll hope the next 6 months are just as good, right? And then we had the monthly non-financial performance report. Chris Desney gave the monthly non-financial report. Total riders for the month was down 0.5%. Preventable accidents are down to 13, and non-preventable accidents are at 33. On-time performance was at 73%. Unless folks have questions, the next meeting of the committee is at 12 o'clock on Wednesday, December 11th.
Great, thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Next committee report is from Mrs. Valentico for the Community and Stakeholder Relations Committee.
Thank you. The committee met on October 24th, and the staff provided several presentations that engaged discussion. The first, John Scherzer provided details on our new microtransit pilot program that will be branded Flex. Flex will combine the best features of ride sharing and conventional CDTA service. It will operate between Guilderland and Latham and will include Albany International Airport, Crossgates Mall, and the Wolf Road area. It will provide a pilot profile and give us operating and customer experience to learn from. We are developing a similar pilot in southern Saratoga County, sort of Park mechanical area. This will give us an opportunity to pilot service in an area with different demographics and density patterns. Flex is slated to roll out in early December. The second presentation, Jamie Watson and John Scherzer talked about the planning for CDTA's 50th anniversary. They showed off the new logo that will be used as part of the celebration. The logo will be used in a variety of ways and a variety of items. The actual anniversary is August 1st, 2020. Planning for this exciting milestone is underway, and a comprehensive communications and event outline has been developed. Finally, Jamie Watson summarized the monthly Community Engagement Media Relations report. Her report highlighted media outreach and community engagement outcomes over the last month. She highlighted several larger stories, which included our River Corridor BRT line construction and the new customer waiting area at Crossgates Mall. The next meeting of this committee will be held on Thursday, December 12th at 10:45 a.m. here at 110 Waterford.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you for the report. Next up is Mr. Gashon with the Strategic and Operational Planning Committee report.
Thanks, Jamie. Strategic and Operational Planning Committee met last Thursday here at 110 Watervliet Ave. There were no consent agenda items. Two administrative discussion items, first being our annual route performance report. Ross Farrell gave a report on that for 2018-19 route performance. The report compares routes against standards of ridership and productivity called for in our transit development program. It also describes recent service changes and highlights recommendations for future initiatives. Our system continues to be very efficient with average productivity rate of 22 riders per revenue hour and more than 50% of all routes reaching TDP performance standards for productivity. Although ridership declined by 4% in fiscal year 19, the rate of decline was markedly less on trunk and neighborhood routes that have high levels of service. This reinforces the importance of ongoing work to invest service resources on corridors with the greatest level of demand. Factors that depressed ridership in fiscal year 18 were also present in fiscal year 19, including the emergence of ride-sharing companies, side effects of the Navigator rollout, and nationwide trend of decreasing transit use. We made minimal adjustments to the fixed route network during fiscal year 19. Recent changes targeted some service reductions to low productivity routes, segments of the routes, and individual trips with low ridership. The report also documents progress with universal access agreements and trolley services. 2019-2020 recommendations include monitoring the microtransit pilot, continued adjustments to underperforming routes, implementation of state worker operations, and river BRT. Also an update to the TDP as part of the CDTC's new Visions 2015 plan, which is an authority-wide strategic plan and use of new indicators to track route performance in the future. We also had a real estate update. Chris Desney gave an update on the eminent domain process for the Uncle Sam property. A second Article 4 proceeding is underway, and we will determine a course of action once that decision is rendered. We are also in talks with the Boakland building owner to acquire the property to support our garage expansion here at 110 Watervliet Ave. We are also beginning the disposition process for the Saratoga property. There were no executive session items, and our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, December 12th, 12 p.m. here at 110 Watervliet Ave. And that concludes my report.
Mike?
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions for Mike on the committee?
Will the electric bus pilot be, have we determined the routes yet for that? And
No,
will that
it's
be
also
monitored
part-
through the planning
It's also
committee?
part of the work, yeah, it'll be monitored, well, not sure which committee will monitor, but part of the work of the consultant here is where should they travel, how long should they, what we want to do is get different experiences. So, for example, put the 4 buses on the same route for 6 months, doesn't really help us. You know, put the 4 buses on 6 different routes, hills, no hills, corners, lots of stops where there's lots of braking, fewer stops where there's less braking, you know, and on and on. So that will be out. For a while, you're probably just going to see, I hate to use such a term, but we'll be playing around. So you'll see it on a morning trip or just get people familiar with those vehicles, or an afternoon tripper, just to get familiar. But as the consultant sort of outlines this pilot for us, you're likely to see it on the New Scotland Avenue for 3 days, on the Troy, the Albia line for 3 days, something of that nature.
Will it be communicated to the passengers that they're on an electric bus?
Yeah, well, obviously when you board it, you're going to see that it's somewhat different, but we will have internal displays as well. But back to the TDP, it's probably, from a pure operations standard, the most important report we generate every year. Ross and his team do a great job with it, tons of information in the report, and if there's something that you see that you have a question about, there's lots of data that's below the report that supports it. But essentially, in a nutshell, what it's showing us is our trunk routes, the backbone of the system, continue to perform at tremendously high levels. We do struggle with some of our neighborhoods and feeder routes, which obviously make some of those trunk routes successful. But we need to find a different way to spread our resources. We're anticipating positive results from microtransit. In some systems, microtransit becomes a substitute for lower use routes or lower performing routes. But it's kind of a tale of two cities. You have the trunk routes, which are standing room only most of the time, and then the neighborhood and feeder routes, which for a lot of reasons are not standing room only. So in a perfect world, everything we're standing room only, but we're trying to balance those two worlds. So it's a very interesting report. If you have questions or you want to dive a little deeper into that, Ross has got tons of information that we can share.
Next up is the CEO's report for October. So keep talking about it.
Yeah, well, and it's long because, as you remember, the September meetings were the beginning. So, the activity list is what it is. It's 3 or 4 pages of. I'm really having trouble recalling a time this busy between projects and activities that we have underway and things that we're doing externally in the community. Pretty much if you wanted to, you could get to an event in the morning every day, get to an event in the afternoon, get to an event in the evening. And all of them have, some tie to what we do, who we are, or who we're trying to partner with. But meanwhile, all the committee reports are reflective of the work we're doing, whether it be the new BRT line, the River Corridor, the expansion of the Troy Garage. I was up there yesterday. That's underway. We're hoping to have the frame of the building up before the bad weather. It was interesting there that you can see how landlocked we are. It's on a very small parcel, and literally the expansion takes us right up against another fence. So great work by our contractors and staff to keep a working garage working while we're expanding the facility. It sort of highlights the importance of our strategic plan. There's so much going on. We have to make sure that the mothership is pointed in the right direction. And as Barbara Gannon, our consultant, has been calling it, the North Star. Make sure we know what our North Star is. And staff, I can tell you, has had a series of meetings with her, conference calls, we're digging out data, we're getting information. We'll talk about that in more detail at our retreat later on in November. The electric buses are almost, there's fourth is here. We're working out some of the kinks, making sure we understand the charging process, but we're hoping to have a formal unveiling of those shortly. A new term that we're starting to use is mobility as a service. Really what that is at the national level, integrating technology tools with operating tools, and thinking of all the different mobility options together with the public transit system, the backbone to all that. So I keep using the example of Vision a Day, where you pick up your mobile device and you want to go from here to 110 State Street or 100 State Street, Albany. It would tell you the best option, the quickest option, the least expensive option, the option that had transfers between car, bus, bike, but think of that as one comprehensive way to sell mobility. Bike share, we're getting close. We've sort of set informally a target for ourselves. We wanted to get to 40,000 rides. Remember last year we were at about 26,000 rides. We're within striking distance. The number I have in my report is 37. We just got a report from last week. We're actually closer to 39,000. So within the next week or two, we'll hit 40,000. Incredibly popular program. I mean, even in this sort of early or late fall, I'm not quite sure what we are. But bikes continue to be used, you go by stations. I get this question all the time, gee, you keep saying the bike share program's popular, but I never see any bikes at the stations. It's sort of like an easy one for me. Well, that's because people are using it. But even this week, you see one or two bikes in the station, so all good there. The BRT Blue Line construction continues at intersections. As I mentioned, Troy Garage. One of the reports mentioned the Crossgates Mall Boarding Center, major activity center, top 3 boarding locations in our system. That is completed. Sand, some finished work, maybe some plants here and there. But if you're at the mall, take a peek at it. It's just east of our old location. But the beauty for us operating-wise is, there's designated turning signals. It's designated for buses only. It's actually improved the circulation pattern at the mall, and hopefully improves our schedule reliability at the end of the day. But it's still a work in progress as we shift customers away from what they're used to a new location. They can see it, but sometimes they don't realize that's where we are. So work in progress there. The budget report is fantastic. Lots of great work by our staff to have expenses below expectation and revenue above expectation 6 months into the year is great. Our bus operator counts are close to projected levels finally. A class of 12 new operators is hitting the streets as we speak. There's another class of 8 that started training a week or 2 ago. It used to be when I was a young guy here at CDTA, you have 2 or 3 classes a year, and it was sort of pre-scheduled. Now it's just back to back to back to back to back. And we don't see that ending with our new services coming online in 2020. Frankly, we're actually behind. For as much as we've caught up, we move faster. And the same is happening in the maintenance department, constant hiring, and it's now a fact of life on the management staff. There's got to be 8 or new people on the management staff. On a staff of 80, that's 10% of the people are brand new. Honestly, you walk around, you have to think, okay, what's that person's name? They just started 2 weeks ago. So the new reality, I guess, we have to get used to that. 50th anniversary, we talked about that. Next year, August 1, we turn 50. Today is my second to the last day of having to wear pink. I've sort of gotten used to it, but it is a struggle some days to not put the same tie on, or the same pink socks, or the same pink shirt. But it's all for a good cause. This is trying to raise money. As important as the money, to raise awareness and work that the American Cancer Society does. And I can't tell you the result that it's produced for us. We've got new partnerships and new agreements as a result of this. So it's all worked together. We had our bus poll last night. The champions of the bus poll at the Albany Police Department. They showed up with a bunch of guys who I swear could be linebackers for the New England Patriots. These guys there were 4 guys. And a couple of ladies, but the 4 guys who were anchors were just unbelievable. Second place with the best fitness, they were a partner. And third place, our own Troy Division. A gang of guys and gals from the Troy Division beat out 2 recruit classes. So the Albany Police Department brought 2 of their recruit classes. They were intimidated because they literally marched in. But a lot of great a lot of law enforcement, a lot of public safety people, and we depend on them a lot. They rely on us, so it's great to see them. A number of us had, I think, a good time at the Annual in New York City. Lots of information, lots of new things to learn. It was great to see Dave Stackrow recognized for his year of service as, I think he calls it service, a year of service as acting chair. And you immediately transitioned to past chair. It's amazing to me how you become yesterday's news quickly to past chair. But I think he actually enjoys.
I'm a rock star at that.
Yeah, he's a rock star. I think he enjoys being past chair. We received a Community Service Award last week at the Albany Public Library, which was a nice event. They, as you know, are a partner, a Universal Access partner. It's also the place where we store our bikes. Little known fact, the bikes live underground there at the library in the off season. They're great partners. And last but not least, I want to point out to you on the 11th of October, our own Jamie Watson was recognized as one of 6 women on the rise in the Capital Region. It's quite an accomplishment. I think she was the best of the 6. But we joined a table full of CDT people, and it's always nice to see our own people recognized. So, congratulations and well deserved. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
All right, very good, covering a lot of ground. There's no executive session for today. Our next meeting of the board will be on Wednesday, December 18th. December 18th, right?
Yeah, it was November.
Okay. It's in December,
Yeah, just before Christmas.
just like it said. 12 noon at right here on 110 Waterloo Avenue. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.